Yes, good day, class. Thank you very much. Welcome to Metric Hub, your one-stop channel for your academic success. This is our second lesson. We are looking at soils and soil erosion. If you can check on your ATP, you will find out that this is very important for you to work on it. So, without wasting any time, let's just go through the notes that I've developed for you here so that we can quickly just get done with it. What is soils and soil erosion? I'm quite sure that you know very well that soil is very important. We cannot have life if there is no soil. So now, soil is a slowly renewed resource. Why do we say slowly? It is slowly because the soil formation or soil forming processes are not just fast as we might want to see, but soil is renewed. Is a slowly renewed resource that provides most of the nutrients needed for plant growth and also help water purification. I'm sure that if you can see vegetation, it cannot be there if there is no soil. Soil nutrients are coming from the soil. I mean, plant nutrients comes from the soil, and then plants are able to survive because they obtain the nutritions or the nutrients from what from the soil. And also, when we talk about the cleanliness of water, clean water is underground water, which is water that rains and then it seeps and it infiltrates into the ground. The process through which water infiltrates into the ground, it helps in water purification. So soil provides nutrients to the soil to the plants and also helps in water purification. We can also talk about many other important functions. The minerals are buried in the soil. We talk about every other various resources and important contributions of soil as we go. So soil is basically a thin covering uh, over land that is a mixture of rock. It covers the land. It is a mixture of rock, minerals, decaying organic matter, water, air, and billions of living organisms. Most of them are microscopic decomposers. When we look in when we talk about soil, it is actually supposed to be understood that it's a mixture of rocks. The soil is a mix of various elements. We have got minerals in there, decaying organic matter, dead plants and animals. When plants and animals die, they are decomposed, they are rotten, and they form soil because of the action of living microorganisms that are living in there. That is why we say that they are microscopic decomposers there. The bacteria that are in the soil, they feed on these dead plants and animals, also facilitating and improving soil fertility. We also have water in the soil. I'm sure that you know very well that underground, we talk about that underground water. We say also have air because air is there as a result of the soil aeration. It has got some pore spaces. Soil particles have got gaps between them, which provides air in the soil, which is also very important for the survival and living of these microscopic organisms or decomposers that we are talking about. So, how is soil formed? How is soil formed? Soil parent rock is withered, forming a loose layer of broken material known as regolith. We are talking about regolith. We are referring to decomposed. It's decomposed. I mean, we are talking about broken or withered loose layers of a rock. So what happens is that when we are saying parent rock, we are talking about major rock surfaces that are wearing off, that are broken down, that are slowly broken down gradually microscopically, so they form the regolith. So the true soil results from the addition of water, air decaying, and living organic matter, which also adds in there. So horizons start to develop, and finally a mature soil is formed with ABC horizons. This identifies what you call soil profile. It identifies soil profile. It identifies soil profile. So soil profile, it identifies the vertical appearance of soil layers from the topsoil to the parent rock that we can identify as we dig down. So now, in that regard, we need to look at what is a soil profile. A fully developed soil shows a series of layers, each called a horizon. And then what we need to look at is that when organic matter dies, when matter dies, we say that it forms layers. It accumulates over the earth. There are accumulations that are there, which we are saying that these accumulations are forming layers that can also be acted upon by microorganisms. The, Therefore, we have to look at the vertical arrangement of soil profiles from top to the last, which has got the parent rock that we are going to look at right now. We are just going to look at the soil profile. So horizon O is not true soil and consists of dead and decaying plant matter which turns into humus or compost, which we are saying that is where we are saying the top profile or horizon O. It is not actually is not a true soil, but it consists of dead, decaying plant matter, even animal matter again, that are dead, that are found on the topsoil there. So they are actually there and then they turns into humus or compost after decomposition. Uh, a horizon, a horizon A is topsoil and is the most fertile layer. Horizon A is the top cell, is the most fertile layer. When you look at this, I'm sure we have got the organic layer that we are seeing there, and then we are saying topsoil is what horizon A, that we are seeing horizon A there. It is the what? It is the topsoil. We are saying is one of the most richest, is the richest, is the actually topsoil and is the most fertile layer. Horizon A is the most fertile layer that we can look at, that we can talk about, because it is consistently fed with dead, decaying matter. So Horizon B, Horizon B, which is also subsoil, is less fertile because it's further from the source of organic matter. It is not close to the organic matter horizon horizon B. So subsoil, it is actually deep in the ground. It's actually deep in the ground, which we are saying that it is underground, which actually forms a what? A very it's not that fertile, it's not that much fertile compared to horizon A, because it is far from what? From the decomposing dead organic matter that we are talking about. So therefore, sometimes we might have also either some plants with very long tape roots that can tape deep into the what? That can break deep to the what? To the to the subsoil. The subsoil, which we are saying it is actually not that it is deep and also less fertile. It's because it is also far from the decomposing organic matter. But as you can see, most of the soil plant plant roots are found on topsoil there, which has got the nutrition, which provides the nutrition that supports the plant life. But other plants that might also, but very few of them, which we can talk about, which can pass through, but we are saying we don't have such a lot happening anyway. We need to understand that topsoil is the one that supports plant life. Topsoil is the one that supports vegetation. So horizon C is the withered rock material which provides the soil with what? With minerals. The minerals are found in horizon C. Horizon C, horizon C, horizon C, it actually have the withered it is actually the withered rock material which provide the soil with minerals. We say that in the soil we have got minerals there. So the soil minerals are found in horizon C. So as you look at this, we also have below the withered rock or regolith is the unwithered bed rock, which we say that it is the parent material, which can also be found there. Bedrock unwithered is unwithered rock layer. It's an unwithered rock layer that we can find there. So now what we need to understand is this is basically the soil profile. I'm just showing you for the essence of what, for the essence of you understanding when we are talking about soil, what do we refer to and how does it look like? So as you can see, the green part there indicates the vegetation, which we say that it depends on the topsoil. And then soil horizons, you can see them, which are marked the topsoil, subsoil, and then parent material, horizon A, B, C. And then, of course, our horizon O is just the organic material that is covering the topsoil there. So topsoil forms, it forms the arable soil. This one, it gives us the arable or agricultural soil, agric fertile soil that we need. Fertile soils are found on what? On horizon what? On horizon A. So that is basically the structure that we are looking at. So let's just look at the next item. Soil forming factors. Factors that define. We are saying factors affecting soil formation. Factors are affecting soil formation. What are those factors that affect the soil formation? Factors affecting soil formation. So now, when we look at this, we say soil is a slowly replacing, it is slowly renewing resource. It does not renew as fast as we might want to look, as we might want to assume on other natural renewable resources. But soil, it takes millions of years for it to renew itself because it's a slow, gradual, microscopic process depending on the processes that results in soil erosion. Rock withering and so forth. So one, we are saying time is one of the key factors that affect what soil formation. Fully mature soils can take thousands of years to produce sufficient depth for farming. So for us to have a soil for farming, it takes millions of years because we are saying the decomposition, we talk about the withering process. There are processes that takes so long for them to occur. So we have got time factor affecting soil formation. We cannot have soil forming over a very short space of time, but it happens over long period of time. And then number two, another factor affecting soil formation is parent material, which is where the soil is coming from. So when a soil develops from an underlying rock, its supply of mineral is dependent on that rock, on that parent rock. Soil fertility. The characteristic of soil depends on which soil, on which rock type is it coming from. We have got different rock types. We have got igneous rocks, we have got sedimentary rocks, we have got metamorphic rocks. All those soils defines or gives different soil types. So the type from which the soil is forming from defines its properties, its characteristics, and then also the underlying minerals that can be found within that soil is also dependent on that soil, on that parent rock. We have got climate as number three. Climate, moisture, temperature, and wind are important climatic factors that influence soil formation. Obviously, I'm sure if you look in the process of what, of withering, if we look in the process of decomposition, there are factors that affect what, that affect soil formation, and then climate affect the rate at which withering of the parent material actually is taking place. Withering, we have got physical, we have got chemical withering. Physical, we can talk about the continuous expansion and contraction of rock which can be caused because of extreme temperatures and also sudden fall of those temperatures. The parent material can exfoliate. It can break down into in situ. So what happens is that we also have chemical, which can also because of the what because of the chemical processes that are taking place, which are sometimes microscopic because of the rock cracks and joints, which also accommodate some withering processes or withering agents to accumulate in there. So, with the most rapid breakdown in hot climates, which have got high rainfall, so we are saying climate affects the temperature, it affects the rainfall, it also defines the length of moisture accumulation, which at the same time would affect the rate at which soil is forming. Where climates are very, where we have got, or in climates which have got high rainfall and also high temperatures, decomposition is very high. We tend to have fertile soils there. We also tend to have extensive weathering also occurring because of these are the key factors that are required for weathering to take place. And then precipitation, which is also rainfall that we already mentioned already now, that rainfall, it affects erosion, it affects weathering. So precipitation influence the type of vegetation which provide the organic material that we talked about, and also humus accumulation for the formation of soil. So precipitation, it defines even also the organisms that are there. The availability of microorganisms depends on what on moisture content. Dry burnt scorched soils are also tend to be very infertile because there are no decomposing microorganisms that would live there. But when we talk about humid climates, humid places that have got uh, rainfall totals that are high and also enough moderate temperatures that affect the length of growing season and also the supply of humus and also the favorable decomposing conditions would affect the soil formation that can be found within a given place. Microorganisms, the greater the amount of vegetation on the soil, the greater the amount of organic matter in that soil. I'm sure this is quite understandable that vegetation, like we say, that it provides the decomposing material. It also provides the habitat for other organisms that would need to be there in the process of soil formation. So most fertile soils are those rich in humus produced by soil organisms. So we are saying the soil organisms actually promote decomposition. When plants die and bacteria retain the nutrients back into the soil, I'm sure we remember the nutrient cycle. When we look at grade 10 life sciences and other levels, we have seen that the carbon cycle, the nitrogen cycle, and so forth. And then earthworms play a major role in converting organic matter into rich humus, which basically improves our soil fertility. So when we look at this, we are saying the availability and presence of microorganisms affect our soil fertility. And then relief, which is also the gradient relief, the direction the slope faces, its aspect affect the amount of sun received. I said the amount of sun affect what? It affects the temperature. The amount of sun affects the temperature. North facing slopes in South Africa are warmer than south facing ones, and therefore drier with more evaporation. So we talk about the issue of aspect, the orientation of a slope with regard to the temperatures, with regard to sun, how much sunlight is received. So when we are in southern hemisphere and northern hemisphere, so what happens is that north-facing slopes in South Africa are warmer. So in southern hemisphere, north-facing slopes are warmer than south-facing ones because of we are saying they are warmer than and are therefore drier with more evaporation because of the orientation towards the sun. So the slope gradient also affects runoff. Runoff, we are talking about the amount of water that it drains after rainfall, which flows over the surface. Less water will infiltrate, so steep slopes are therefore resulting in unfertile soils. So relief, which is the gradient or the steepness of the place of a given landscape, of a given terrain, affects our what? Our it also affects our soil fertility and also the rate at which decomposition is occurring because of the aspect of runoff, which also affect even the vegetation that might grow there. We might not have dense vegetation on steep slopes because the slope drains rainfall. It causes less, it has got less vegetation cover, therefore problems would arise. And then we look at evidence of soil erosion in South Africa. We want to look at how is South Africa affected by soil erosion. So evidence of soil erosion in South Africa is widespread, is quite widespread, is quite known, visible as dongas. Dongas are, we are talking about deep gorges, deep gullies that are formed because of extensive erosion, which is normally headward type of erosion, and bed lands formed by wind and water, particularly in the Eastern Cape, are typical examples there. We are talking about the donkas, the gullies that are found typically in the Eastern Cape. We talk about Limpopo. We have got KwaZulu-Natal, KZN provinces. These are most visible evidence of deep erosion in South Africa. Deep erosion that is taking place where deep channels are caved into hillside and valley fields. Deep channels class. They are formed. Deep channels are formed. We have got deep channels that are caved into hillsides and valley fields. So significant evidence include the reduction of reservoir capacity due to siltation. Reservoir, we're talking about water, water sources. We are talking about water sources. The water sources, their capacity are reduced because of siltation. We are saying filling up by sand as a result of erosion, such as we have got the World Bank Dutch Dam, which losing over 86% of its storage in 20 years. The reduction in the dam capacity is an indication, it's an evidence of erosion in South Africa, whereby 86% of the dam has been occupied by sand and widespread land degradation that affected 70% of the country's productive land. So much of South Africa's land has been destroyed because has been degraded as a result of what? As a result of erosion. So soil erosion reduces what? Agricultural productivity. It reduces agricultural productivity. It creates deserts. We talk about deserts like conditions which are caused because of soil erosion. We are talking about washing off of topsoils, fertile soils, polluted water sources. Because I want you to relate and understand that after rainfall, we see surface runoff, dark waters that are flowing over the surface. Those are fertile nutrients that we are talking about, which we are saying they are drained into water resources and therefore polluting them and disrupt our ecosystems. We can talk about, for example, in this case, we can talk about aquatic organisms. Aquatic organisms are affected in terms of the ecosystems. And then with recent studies indicating deep erosion magnitudes unprecedented in the last 100,000 years, correlating with the past climatic shifts. The previous climatic shift that we talk about also contributed that. So what we are saying is that evidence of soil erosion in South Africa is identified because of the loss of arable land due to erosion. We talk about the siltation of the siltation of water resources, our reservoirs, reducing our water capacities. We talk about even the waterborne diseases that are resulting from water pollution and also the dwindling population of aquatic lives that are these are typical examples of what of indications of evidence of evolution, I mean evidence of soil erosion in what? In South Africa, in provinces such as Eastern Cape, Limpopo, KZN. I'm sure you've seen houses moving, sliding in KZN. We talk about floods that have taken place there. These floods that we have experienced in KZN are typical examples of what? Of soil erosion that we are talking about. And then effects of soil erosion on people and the environment. This, we have already mentioned that it affects our agriculture because arable land is lost. It also reduces crop production, which we talk about, we are talking about uh, starvation, which is caused because of reduction in yields, in agricultural yields that are reduced because of what? Because of erosion and food insecurity. We have talked about food insecurity and it remained a serious subject in South Africa. We talk about the loss of the inadequacy of food in South Africa, which is caused because of reduced agricultural produce. As we also talk about fertile soils being lost, we have already mentioned about that. Environmentally, it causes sedimentation of waterways, which we are saying the siltation. We are talking about the siltation of waterways and reservoirs, resulting in pollution and damaging to freshwater ecosystems. Our waters are always what? They are always polluted. They are polluted because of erosion. So these are the effects of erosion on people. But let's just go and check another one. It also contributes to desertification. Desertification is caused because of erosion, where topsoils are washed off, the soil becomes infertile, and then also adding to loss of biodiversity and loss of vegetation, which gradually results in desertification, land degradation. We talked about what? About those gullies that are formed. We talked about these gullies. We talked about those donkers that are very deep erosional streams that are formed because of that. And then we have got water cycles disruption and also climate change that also results in that. Uh, the economical effects, we talk about the loss in land value. When land has been eroded, we talk about what? The economic value of land is diminished, and then infrastructure damage, increased cost for mitigation. We are talking about cost of control measures. Control measures. Let's look into the recent floods in KZN, which are still having the effects now on our infrastructure. Roads are disturbed, roads are damaged. We talk about our buildings, housing, they are also destroyed and so forth. These are serious problems that we can talk about. Government is spending billions, increased cost. We talk about billions of rands that are used in that are needed in order for us to solve such problems. So I have just mentioned these in passing now, so that we can summarize them. Food insecurity, effects of people on people. We talk about that agricultural productivity that reduces because of yields reduction, and then also economic stability is threatened on farmers and communities. People suffer because of hunger, because of erosion, land degradation. We have already mentioned that also land degradation, decreased agricultural output, and then significant economic costs on nations and individuals reliant on agriculture. We have to do importation. We talk about importation of agricultural produce, importation of agric produce, which is also a serious problem, and then health impact, which actually talk about the eroded soils, associated with agricultural chemicals contaminate our water resources and also affecting public health, access to clean water, and also we talk about this pollution. We said aquatic. We cannot forget that the end result is aquatic lives that are also threatened. Aquatic lives are also threatened. This also affects our people because when people eat these organisms, these fish or these water-loving organisms that are dying because of these chemicals, agricultural chemicals, they would also have associated diseases that we can also have to worry about. And then effects on the environment, which is number B, effects on the environment. The effects on the environment, we are saying that water pollution, soil particles, nutrients, pollutants are carried by water into rivers, dams, and coastal areas, leading to sedimentation, eutrophication. We talk about the washing away of nutrients, agricultural fertilizers, nutrients into water resources, into our water, resources. That results in eutrophication, which also results in what? Which also results in algae. This algae also affects what? Our water and other related ecosystems. Biodiversity, we have mentioned that organisms are also affected because erosion reduces soil fertility, quality, damaging these ecosystems, also leading to decline in a variety of organisms. Variety of organisms that we have in our ecosystems are also disturbed because of soil erosion. Desertification, it is also another third point that we cannot omit. In drier regions, soil erosion can lead to desertification, where land degrades and becomes barren. It becomes unproductive. It becomes unproductive. The barren land, it becomes unproductive because of what? Because of erosion. So the soil becomes drier. It becomes it becomes very kind of uh, not economically viable for every other related agricultural practices in terms of plant or crop farming. So it contributes to arid conditions and ecological collapse. We are talking about the ecosystems deterioration that we also experience because of that. Increased flooding as fertile soils is lost, the land's ability to absorb and retain water decreases, potentially increasing the frequency and severity of floods, which are also related conditions and environmental challenges that we can relate to with regards to soil erosion. Carbon cycle disruption. Carbon cycle disruption, I'm sure we remember this, the carbon cycle that health soils, they store vast amounts of carbon. Erosion releases this stored carbon. Erosion releases this stored carbon, contributing to increased atmospheric pollution gases in the atmosphere. Pollution gases and worsening what? Climate change. Worsening climate change, we're saying it worsens. It worsens climate change, which also contributes to environmental degradation. And then siltation of water reservoirs, we have already mentioned that one. It has been discussed. The transportation of soil materials into rivers and dams, reducing their storage capacity. And also, we have got examples of typical dams in Mzansi, in South Africa. Nutrification and water quality, we have already also mentioned that soil erosion contributes to water pollution, and then also nutrification of water sources, harming aquatic ecosystems that we have also mentioned, that these are quite notable challenges which we cannot overlook. Management strategies to prevent and control soil erosion. management strategies that can be put in place to prevent and control soil erosion. So effective soil erosion control in South Africa involve biological management practices such as planting cover crops and deep-rooted vegetation. We are talking about biological, like the use of vegetation in terms of soil erosion combating. So physical structures such as terracing, the marking and construction of walls like structures on steep slopes, so therefore they can stop the erosion of what of topsoils from those uh, steep slopes, and then contour plowing. These are also put in place in order to avoid soil erosion in terms of reducing the widespread and impact of runoff water after rainfall. Agricultural practices such as conservation tillage, mulching, covering our lands, and also responsible livestock management practices are also ways that we can talk about in terms of what, in terms of soil erosion strategies, prevention, and control measures. Uh, we want to look into these biological management strategies in detail, just to complete in the biological management strategies that we can identify. uh, These methods utilize plants to protect the soil. We are saying the biological practices methods, they actually depend on plants or vegetation in terms of soil protection. One, planting. We talk about planting, vegetation, establishment of deep-rooted plants and grasses to anchor the soil and prevent erosion. I'm sure you know very well that vegetation covers soil. So the deep-rooted and grass, they actually support. Anchoring means that they support, they bind the soils in order for it not to be easily washed away. Cover crops, we have got like clover, like veggie, also to create protective layer of vegetation during off seasons. That also reduces the exposure. They actually reduce the exposure of soil from its agents, soil from agents of erosion. From agents of erosion, we are saying they actually reduce exposure of soil from the agents of erosion, which is wind, water, and every other soil moving methods and ways. Agroforestry and intercropping. We are talking about biological measures of combating soil erosion. So forestry and intercropping grow trees and other crops together to increase vegetative cover. This also reduce what? Soil erosion. When we are saying intercropping, it's a mix of farming of different crops over the same piece of land that helps to enhance and improve what? It actually improves. It improves it improves soil covering. It improves soil covering, hence reduces what? Reduces erosion. That's what is happening in this regard. And then revegetation. We talk about afforestation, revegetation. This has to do with the restore vegetation in eroded areas in order to bind soil particles and prevent further erosion. It is just like we can talk about, e.g., we have got gully reclamation, gully reclamation, where people are preventing and are re-establishing vegetation in areas where erosion is taking place. We talk about afforestation or reforestation. These are all done in order to ensure that where vegetation has been lost, we recover that vegetation. recovering vegetation in areas that were once covered by vegetation, and therefore the vegetation might have been damaged by every other necessary or possible agents. So we have got riparian buffers where plant vegetated areas along rivers and streams to filter runoff. Uh, plant vegetated areas along rivers and streams to filter runoff. That has to also to do with reduction in what? In siltation, also at the large to a large extent reducing what? Soil erosion. And then we have got what is physical and structural measures, which is maybe we can say B, physical and structural measures. These are engineering interventions to control water runoff and also soil movement, which we are saying are mechanical ways in terms of controlling water runoff and soil movement, contour farming, plowing and planting along the contours of the land to slow water runoff. So some drains are formed or are cut across an arable land, which are actually done in order to restrict the movement of surface runoff of water after rainfall. So it actually slows water runoff and promotes siltation. I mean, it promotes infiltration of rainwater and also the establishment of vegetation cover along the contours, which basically at the end of the day, it is a mechanical means and physical structure towards soil erosion combating, terracing, which I also mentioned, like to say, creating level platforms on slopes to reduce runoff and make hillside farming manageable. That on steep slopes, structures are constructed in order to ensure that runoff is minimized. It actually helps to minimize runoff, reduce runoff, and also grassy waterways. That has to do with constructing vegetated channels to divert surface water without causing erosion. I'm sure you've seen this to say in highly drained areas which are vulnerable to soil erosion, we also actually do plant grass in those areas. So therefore, if water runs over those places, it has no serious impact with regards to soil erosion. But anyway, the soil will be actually covered and protected. And then we talk about brush fences, which has to do with erecting fence perpendicular to water flow to slow down water and trap sediments. I'm sure you've seen these on what on river banks, or when we talk about storm drains where roads are constructed, we have got these brush fences being erected, which are actually made to slow down water and trap sediments. And agricultural practices that we can also talk about, modifying farming techniques can significantly reduce erosion. We talk about this can has to do with uh, it actually comes together with a next point here, conservation tillage or new till farming, where farmers can actually grow crops without disturbing the soil structures. This actually reduces erosion. They can actually dig where they can only plant vegetation, where they want to plant their crops, but not tilling the land. So the soil structure and the soil compactness is not disturbed. And at the same time, the grass cover and vegetation cover which is around that place is actually ensuring that there is reduced soil erosion. Mulching, it has to do with applying a protective layers of organic or inorganic material to expose soils. That erosion is also reduced and minimized. And then this responsible livestock management, it actually comes with avoiding overgrazing to prevent soil compaction and also uprooting of vegetation. This has to do with management of carrying capacity, management of carrying, management of carrying capacity, which is quite important that the land must carry, or the given space of land must sustain equally sustainable number of animals, such that there is no soil compaction, there is no overgrazing, there is also no vegetation destruction, which at the end of the day will result in what? In soil erosion. And then crop rotation, alternating different types of crops, including deep-rooted and shallow-rooted varieties. These also help to maintain it helps to maintain soil structure. It helps to maintain soil structure. It maintains soil fertility. Soil fertility is improved, and at the end of the day, we have got an improved what? Soil fertility. At the end of the day, we have got good soils, which are able to what? To protect and provide good what? Vegetation cover. So at the end of the day, these can be quite important factors, practices that helps to reduce what? Soil erosion. And adding organic matter, that is incorporating organic fertilizer to improve soil structure and stability. So therefore, we also help in adding, this has to do with adding soil fertility, which is also supporting vegetation cover. We are supporting vegetation cover. So if vegetation cover is supported, we automatically ensure that runoff is reduced. And then rainwater harvesting. Sometimes of technology of now, lately, we have got collecting systems and mechanisms which store rainwater to reduce surface runoff waste, for example, in terms of urban areas, or where we have got large structures or buildings where water can be harvested from. It can be harvested from building tops and roofs and so forth. In regard to that, instead of making the water to run off or drain along the land, it can be collected, harvested into JoJo tanks. It can be collected into some storage facilities, which at the end of the day, it reduces surface runoff. And then finally, we can talk about geosynthetic materials, which has to do with using geotextile blankets or matting to to provide cover and protection for exposed surfaces. So it is geosynthetic materials where land is exposed, where soils are not covered, there is no vegetation. We talk about engineers, we talk about farmers coming into play or coming into practice with geosynthetic materials in such exposed surfaces, covering them up. So therefore, even if it rains, no or less soils might be exposed or might run off. So having said this, I want to appreciate your time and thank you so much for your following and connecting to Metric Hub. Until we meet again in the next video, which we are just going to meet, just look forward to it. We are going to talk about, we are still on term 4, so that I say that in your next video, we are going to look at conventional energy sources, conventional sources of energy. You need to look at thermal electricity generation, the use of coal, and also the basic principles and processes in conventional energy sources. So I want to thank you again. Keep on connected. I say don't forget to like, subscribe, and also keep connected until you do your grade 7, your grade 12, until you do your matric. We are still together. Don't forget to subscribe. So therefore, you keep posted and connected. Have a beautiful stay.